Good Don and everyone, and welcome to today's video. Third job or whatever, but I got some big plans that I'm piecing together, and at this point in my life, a little bit of hard work is required on the front end to kind of put some things together. So that's what we're doing. It's what we're working with. So I wanted to share a story that happened yesterday. I was thoroughly impressed. There was a young man that lives in my neighborhood, a couple houses down, and he has a car that is similar to one that I used to have. And when I had mine, I used it as like a track car. Um, so a cool little sports car, but for him, he uses that car as his daily driver to get to school, get to work, and basically live his life. And about 3 weeks ago, I saw the car basically up on some jack stands, basically a strong indicator that something went wrong with the car. And it sat like that for a couple weeks, and then probably about 3 days ago, I caught him outside, and we were talking, and he was telling me that the transmission had broke on the car, and that it had been really a pain in the butt to try to get the parts, and then to try to find the time to put the new transmission in, and some other I guess we'll call miscellaneous parts that go along with the transmission and the motor and stuff when you go to do that, because he's busy working and going to school, and trying to make sure all of those things remain a priority, even though his primary source of transportation was out for the count. And so at first, even with that, I was pretty impressed that a lot of times I feel, even like with the most subtle setbacks, a lot of the times we say, oh, okay, I can't um, I can't focus on that, or I can't um, continue to work toward this and that because I have this thing that's really set me back, and that's a real big issue, and uh, etc. Right? We basically allow that setback to become our primary excuse on why we don't go after what we say is important to us. And this young man, he's probably about 18, 19 years old. He's pretty fresh into college and stuff like that. And so the car was off the jack stands. It was down. He had this big old grin on his face, and he's like, "Yeah, I got the car done. It's put back together. I'm excited. It was a challenge, all that stuff." So we're talking, and I was like, "Cool, cool." And I'm doing some work around the house. He's like, "Well, I gotta get to class. I don't want to be late or whatever." And he jumps in the car, and he kind of drives away, and uh, that was that. That's what I thought. That's where it ended. Like, cool, you successfully accomplished it. About 10 minutes later, I see the car being towed back by another car, with like this jerry rigged, being uh, roped together, and he's got this like really like pretty mad face, and I'm telling you, it wasn't about 10 minutes later, and it was back. So I was like, "What happened? What happened?" And he he said that the part still wasn't right. It still, was broken, and he had spent a lot of money, getting that transmission and the other, miscellaneous parts, and then obviously 3 weeks of time trying to, get rides, the logistics side of it, so that he can maintain his life. Like, it was just a huge um, dedication and determination to maintain, his life, to then think that he had it all figured out and was basically, you know, good. He was gonna have a brand new transmission. The car was gonna be better than before and all that stuff. And then to kind of have that win taken out of your sails, it's a pretty big blow. And I felt for him. I could feel the frustration. I could feel just how excited and relieved he was that he had you know overcome this challenge. And so he comes back, and if it was me and I had this big old challenge, and all of a sudden, it didn't work out, I can almost imagine that I would say, all right, let me stay at home and figure out, maybe what other part I might need, or, um, figure out something with the car, since that was the issue again. And I was impressed by his determination, because he put his ego aside. He, was basically, you could tell, a little timid in asking, a little nervous about what I might say. But he came up to me and said, "Look, I really don't want to be late to class. Like, do you mind driving me in the class?" And we're neighbors, like, we're friendly, we'll talk to each other, but nothing ever to that extent where we're giving each other rides and things like that. So uh, I was just, like I said, thoroughly impressed at his determination to continue to work toward his, what he sees as important. And whether you agree with college or not, or if you don't think it's the best, path for people, there's a lot of talk about the the true value in education. Education is important, but you don't need to always get it in the school setting. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are more successful, creating more freedom without putting themselves into massive, student loan debt, and doing things without a piece of paper that says, they have this education. There's a lot of resources that you can educate yourself, through home or through the internet or through books, that can make you, you know, probably almost even a little bit better than some people that go and get the formal education. Again, and those are opinions and things like that. But for him, he obviously sees, college as very important. It's something that he wants to be able to take that degree, utilize it, and then he already has these ideas of what else he wants to do beyond that. He understands that this front load, kind of like I started today's video about, like, you have to front load sometimes a lot of work to be able to get into, the system, and to create the lifestyle that you want. So a lot of times it's just that willpower to be able to maintain that determination in the face of chaos. you know uh, these setbacks, as I talk about in my ebook. If you haven't gotten it, but right, if you haven't read it, it's on my website, jrsinspires.com. It's a free download, free ebook. It's called The Guide to Working with Mentors. And obviously, you um, when you work with mentors, one of the biggest advantages is being able to have someone that's been in the same uh, work that you're doing, or something similar, and they have kind of had to work through these setbacks. It allows you to identify those setbacks earlier and pretty much mitigate them before they even become a setback. So basically, you're able to make, adjustments, and be aware of it before it even happens, so that you're able to maintain your forward progress. So, these setbacks, they're going to happen, and you're a true measure of your success, or a true measure of how successful you'll be, or when you'll be successful. Because a lot of times when we have these setbacks, we'll let it deter us, maybe for a couple weeks. He could have said, "Oh, my car's out of commission. It's really hard for me to get to class. I'll just take the semester off. I can withdraw from my classes, and I'll just try again next time." You know what I mean? But you could see that that just wasn't an option, especially today. There's so many other, methods. It may not be the most affordable, but you could always Uber to class or something like that. If it's truly something important. I don't really know what he did. In the meantime, if his mom drove him to school, or if he, walked to school. I don't know, but it's that creativity, and that the time that you take to just kind of allow yourself a little bit of isolation, to say, all right, I need to figure this out. What is it that I can do? Sometimes you have to be quick on your feet. Yesterday, the car, as soon as he got back, he literally pulled the e-brake up, parked it, and pretty much sat there for about a minute, saw that I was outside, and said, maybe this guy will drive me to school. So sometimes it's a very quick, almost like instinctual response, where you what comes to you, you kind of run with it, and see if it works. And then there's other times where things take a little bit more of a calculated approach, where you can add a system. an example of this is, finances are, it's kind of like a game, and you get these tokens, and basically, depending on how you shift them and where you move it and how you use it, you could easily live in an abundance with the salary and the money that you make, and that's without me even knowing you. I know that from my own personal experience. I don't have this incredible abundance of money at this time in my life, but I live abundantly because of the systems and the things that I'm able to put into my life, and the shifts that I'm able to make, so that I'm moving with a purpose. I have goals, and everything is basically accounted for and has its meaning and has its purpose. And so you can see that sometimes, in chaos, being able to, sometimes make a quick, adjustment and decision, or sometimes making and that car had a flat tire, flat, and driving. I think right now. Anyways, um, so you can see that there is right there. I mean, that's a perfect example of an inconvenience. This guy's probably driving to school or work, got a flat tire. Maybe he knows. Maybe he's just really trying to get to where he needs to go. Um, you'll be so surprised, and, in my opinion, impressed by what we can overcome. Through sometimes a lot of this turmoil. When we feel like our backs against the wall, and we have um, slim to no chance of being successful or being able to follow through on what it is that we want to do and what we see as important. I think you'll be surprised when you allow yourself that little bit of isolation to make either that quick decision or that long-term decision where you're creating systems, or sometimes just going off luck and asking your neighbor for a little bit of help. Um, I did it primarily because I had my family home. I was working on stuff around the house, um, but I was just impressed at his ability to think on his feet, to put it together and say, "Hey, man, this guy is here. I see his car. His car is driving. And I need to get to class." And then, of course, like I said, putting that ego aside, it's probably embarrassing. He knows that I'm into cars, and that I probably know what's going on and what probably could have fixed it. We did have a conversation about it on the way to his class, that it might be something a little bit more minor and didn't require the big changes that he made, which he wasn't excited about hearing that, but he is determined to get it fixed. So sometimes, we don't want to, excuse me, we don't want to hear that, something was a lot simpler than what we had first imagined and what we first thought, because we want to, sometimes be right, and know, like, oh, okay, what I thought about was, accurate, or was correct. Um, but he was open to the possibility that maybe it was that. Number one, because what he went through obviously didn't work, and number two, it makes sense, and he sees it as a possibility of getting his car up and running, and ultimately that's his goal. He needs a primary means of transportation. So another just it was a really cool experience, just being able to interact, especially with him being 18, 19 years old. um, I know at that age for myself, I felt like I was definitely mature and I had a lot of stuff moving in the right direction. But the mindset is so important, and I feel like that young man is there. He's working through things, and figuring things out, and I think we could all learn a lot from that experience. And obviously I titled this, the determination in the face of chaos. Um, Chaos is only going to be as significant as we allow it. So if we look at it and we say, yeah, this is kind of a lot of stuff going on, but I have a system, or I have a resource. Sometimes we can't figure it out on our own. Sometimes we need to go to someone else, i.e., like a mentor, or a neighbor, whatever. Don't be hesitant a lot of times to ask questions, because the ultimate goal is to get through the chaos, to get through it and onto what it is that you're um, what you're doing. And a lot of times you're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons through that chaos that you know you'll be able to avoid it in your own life and also be able to help people, later on in the future with their own life and say, like I've had transmission issues with my car, and so that's why I'm fairly confident in what he has going on and that it might work for him. And, I explained that to him. I was like, look, I'm a little bit older, I have a little bit more experience. Like I have been there. So, don't put your head down. It's a car, cars, they have wear and tear. That's why they're seen as depreciating assets for the most part, unless you're into like classic cars. Um, it's because they have wear and tear on them. So, these things happen. And sometimes it's kind of, like a series of checks. Okay, I checked this on it, that's good, or I changed this, and that wasn't it. It's sometimes how it goes. So I want to share that video with you guys, definitely on the early morning. Today is Friday, we're getting ready for the weekend. So maybe look back on your week and think about some of the things that you have been able to overcome. A lot of times we also don't give ourselves credit on the things that we do, and I think it's important to kind of pat yourself on the back sometimes and say, you know, I'm trying. I'm trying, and maybe it's not working out as effectively as I had hoped and as I had imagined. But again, that's just part of the setbacks. So as long as you keep that focus, you keep that determination, and you're trying to swift through that chaos. Um, I think that's something to at least acknowledge, and then move forward with more determination, right? And more trial and error and trying to figure out what it is that's going to work. So that's it for this video. I did have somebody pop up a question through email. People are, I guess, still trying to keep it stealth, where they don't want other people to see what they're asking. So it's all good. I reached out to them. I was going to talk about that today, the question that they had. I was trying to get a little bit more information on the question just because I wanted to try to be able to make it more directional and answer, I guess, more specifically what they are trying to get at. It was a pretty general and broad question, but it was awesome. I love the fact that, you guys are reaching out, asking questions. Um, of course, when I get on here, it's all 100% confidential. I'm not going to put your name and stuff out there unless you want me to. Um, all to, again, learn and try to move in the direction. But I'm gonna wait and see if I get a response from them today. If I don't get a response, then I was thinking about it a little bit more. I could absolutely answer the question and still hit a lot of solid points and pretty much get them moving in the right direction with what they asked. So if I don't hear back from them, I'm probably just going to move forward and answer the question. Again, I think a lot of people can really benefit from a very important question that they asked. If you have questions, of course, you can email me info@jrsinspires.com, or put it right on these videos in the comments below on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram at jrsinspires, facebook.com/jrsinspires, Twitter at jrsinspires. Again, always trying to keep it simple and consistent so that I'm easy to be reached. Okay, so any questions or any comments or anything like that, it allows this process to keep building, shares with people, because I highly doubt that that young man's the only person that is swifting through the chaos like he is. So if you're in that position, I salute you guys. Continue to persevere and push through that chaos. There's a lot of valuable lessons, so don't just take it as some unfortunate situation. I had a family member that was involved in a car accident the other day, and um, pretty down about the entire situation. They totaled the car and all that stuff, and it's never on a to-do list to wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm gonna total my car today. And so it's something to get through. But talking to that person, and pointing out the changes that have already happened in their life and their focus and their thought process has changed for the better. Their awareness in, their finances, their awareness in their just their livelihood and their decision making and stuff like that, um, it is all improved because of the accident. So, a lot of times, especially a car accident, it's a pretty significant event, and there's a lot of things that we can pull from it to make, you know, make light of it and to understand, okay, yeah, this might be, dark and mysterious situation. It just takes a little bit of that isolation time to really try to piece together what is it that could be possibly the reason behind this. I was explaining to that person that, our spirits, a lot of times, they like to tap us on the shoulder and send us very subtle, subtle, subtle messages. And, it takes that isolation time and that time to really, meditate, or to, go for walks by ourselves, or whatever it is where you can spend some time with yourself to really kind of depict and try to determine what it is that's going on in your life and why it's happening. And sometimes it gets to the point where sometimes maybe they're just a little tired of tapping on the shoulder, and now they need to abruptly grab our attention. I know it's happened, a few times in my life, and when the attention is trying to be captured, they will capture it, and the universe will make sure that what they're trying to relay to you is met, it's heard. So again, just kind of swifting through that chaos and allowing yourself the opportunity to see, what can come from it, and the potential upside. So what seems like a downside, what seems like a setback, is teaching us a lot of valuable lessons that, when we approach it, I don't want to say properly, but when we approach it with the appropriate attention and, I guess, focus on trying to figure it out, there's just a lot of great upside that can come from it. So, you know, hopefully, you guys can take something from this week, or maybe, this month, and really see, okay, I had this setback, as he was talking about this, it really made me think about it. Maybe I should sit down and, go for a drive, turn the radio off, put your cell phone down, and just drive, just see what comes to your mind as you think about what's going on in your life, and see where it goes. Maybe your first couple times at it, you're gonna go and you're gonna think, okay, maybe it's this and that, and it ends up not being. Well, then just reevaluate it. There's no shame in not getting it right on the first time, and not getting it right away, or trying something and it not working out. So it's life, it's experiences, and it's very cool, in my opinion, to live life and to understand that, um, you got to treat yourself fairly, and you have to treat yourself, with compassion when it comes to trying to figure these things out. They're not always the easiest things to decode and to understand. So if that happens and that's the case, then maybe you just need a little bit more time in the lab and putting stuff together and asking resources, or whatever it is that works for you. Just continue to to improvise and to create, possibilities that will give you the answers in the direction that you're looking for out of your life. So that's it. I'm getting close to my job. Like I said, a lot of hard work on this front end, and it's probably going to be like this for a little bit longer, but all part of that bigger plan, that bigger picture. And with that, puts me in a position where I smile when I go to work. I know that what I'm doing, has that plan, has that purpose, and it completely changes the idea of work, and when you go to work, and just that overall atmosphere. A lot of times we're so miserable at our jobs that it really ruins our overall spirits and our overall mood in our life. So maybe if you can't get out of your job, if you feel stuck, or it's just a really good job, really well paying, or provides a lot of opportunities, sometimes you need to just repurpose it a little bit, and see if that works for you. Sometimes when you repurpose it, it may not, and at that point, you gotta figure out some other stuff. But you know just keep getting creative. So That's it. Thank you guys so much for this video. Again, Instagram, JRS Inspires, Twitter at JRS Inspires, Facebook.com/JRS Inspires. Obviously, also on YouTube. Follow my channel at JRS Inspires. So I'm going to be doing a lot more live videos like this with the sun glaring in my face. I have my visor down and it's still blasting me in the face. I got to get like that tint across the top. But it's actually, still good getting my some vitamins through the sun and enjoying a little bit of that light on my way to work. So not always bad. But until next time, guys, I'm signing out. Peace.